I'm delighted that we can welcome onto the show this evening JP Latham, the founder of Student Motorsport, a gentleman I've had the pleasure of knowing now for many years, and I've witnessed firsthand the development of Student Motorsport. So JP, welcome to the show this evening. Nice to see you.
Good evening, guys. Thanks for having me.
Great to see you. The Student Motorsport Challenge, which we're going to talk about later, is a fantastic development. But what I'd like to do to start off with is go back to the beginning and ask you what motivated you to launch Student Motorsport in the first instance?
It's probably several factors. That it sort of started way back when I was graduated from university, really, and it was all those speculative letters that you would write to race teams for those first jobs in the industry, and sort of the knockbacks that you got, and in some parts negatives that came with it was very disheartening, and sort of I remember being sat down on my breakfast table at home, and I was speaking to my grandma at the time, and she was saying, "Why don't you do something about this problem, John Paul? You know, this." You keep struggling to get a job. It's chicken and egg. It's experience, or is it trying to find a job so you can gather the experience, and so on and so on. We've talked about it many times. So I thought of the idea of some sort of a network back then. You know, given the experience that I've had in education in motorsport. So that's really back in the early to mid 2000s, where the idea originally started from. That obviously progressed when I went into the industry. You know, I understood why there were those nervous employers to take, you know, young graduates on, you know, risk to business, etc., etc. You needed to know what you're doing. So from a professionals aspect of, you know, I had a number of years in the industry, you know, right up to recently, that you still see a lack of experience from, you know, sadly from students. There are a lot of good things going on. So that really started to fuel it, Andy, you know. And then, of course, as you know, and probably a lot of people that's listening to this call, you know, I had the pleasure of, in part, teaching students in motorsport for about 10 years, and that was an accidental sort of stumbling into that industry. Never wanted to be a teacher, but thought, you know, what the hell, why not try it? You know, I had no ties to the north. I moved south. I went to Norfolk, and I taught motor racing for 10 years. And I had that experience from education point of view. So with those collective areas led to a change needed, you know, whether it's support, whether it's guidance, whether it's gaining experience. So that they were the catalysts that started from university. Yeah.
Okay. So outside of the Student Motorsport Challenge, which we'll come on to, what does membership of the Student Motorsport community offer young motorsport professionals today?
Well, if you look at the site at the moment, we're in a transition phase, so it's not. Is it the greatest time to talk about it? Well, it doesn't matter, does it? You know, we've had a website running since about 2014, which was once described as a hobby from Mr. Theo Papitis himself, actually. That, you know, he said to me, you know, John Paul, if you want to make this a success, it needs to be turned into a business, and I, you know, agree with him. So the initial development and names which are ongoing is to simply bring people together, a place to discuss motorsport in terms of careers, in terms of getting experience, you know, and learning, you know, embedding it into whatever you're already doing in education and afterwards. So that was the initial, the simpler plan was to create a network that was non-distracted from social media. Of course, we've been all dragged into that, and it has its benefits. But I wanted to create a network that connected students, graduates, educational institutions, and professionals, bang their heads together for the betterment of a lot of people. You know, there's a multi-purpose aim here. Some of the wider aspects that we've branched into, which of course have been affected over the last 2 years, no prizes for guessing, was work experience. So whilst I was teaching at the College of West Anglia, they were very kind to me and let me sort of roll with this work experience, if you would. We used to take students with me racing at race weekends, under the Student Motorsport and College of West Anglia banner, if you would. And it was really, again, a trial to really find out what it is that allows students to get that experience, and how best to go about it. What is the educator looking for? What's the student looking for? And what is the industry looking for? So a dating kind of thing, really, if you would, matching people up and really trialing that. So it was work experience, and then learning really is the thing that's grown from there. So with the onset of COVID and us not being able to send people on work experience, we've sort of turned our mind to a learning environment, which we're slowly developing now.
Okay, so I mean, it's not often that we welcome a brand new racing series into the UK, but that's exactly what's going to happen in 2022 with the Student Motorsport Challenge. So tell us, what does the Student Motorsport Challenge consist of, and how does that support the wider aims and objectives of the community of student motorsport?
Yeah. It's a challenge in itself, I'll not lie, Andy. I think I have a little cue card here, actually. I wanted to say, first up, it's something that's never been done, really. And before we went on the call, we were talking about it's not to blow anyone's trumpet, but it has never, ever been done. And that's because it's too hard. But once I get an idea in my head, I'll run with it, as you know. So the challenge consists of teaching students and young people about as I said before, the length and the depth or breadth of the industry. What educators are doing is fantastic, especially when I was a teacher. But sadly, they don't have the time and depth of courses to teach students what the industry needs, to teach them about business, to teach them about livelihoods, those wider communication skills and so forth. Now, that's because they have to teach students a range of areas and give them a bite size, if you would, of various different things, whether it's mechanicking or otherwise. So what I wanted to do with the challenge was introduce something that gave them a snippet of running a racing team, which for me, if you set up and run a racing team and do everything in between, which has been highlighted on some of the cue cards that come up, or some of the slides that come up, it's not just building a race car. Before you even think about building a race car, you've got to set up a team. You've got to have a business structure. You've got to find and own a vehicle. And then obviously things start being commercialised. It's about discussing things with people in industry before you even graduated. And then, of course, for the tutors, it's about being able to embed this fantastic project, this racing series, into their education. So giving the students something to really chew on, and of course, the tutors, giving students something that's really exciting to focus on and tangible, treating them as though it's a business, and it really gives that seriousness to what we're trying to achieve. There's a huge range of things I could go into, but obviously time's short here. But I need something that created realism at a young age in motorsport.
So just so that our listeners are clear,
yes,
what's going to happen here is that a college is going to take delivery of a donor chassis, if you will, a package of parts to convert that chassis into a race car. But outside of that, they're going to have to effectively run a race team. So they're going to have to learn how to sort of logistics, communications, media, hospitality, garage etiquette. So this is going to be a big challenge, isn't it, for them? Yeah,
it's massive. Now, I think you imagine yourself going for a job interview. So, Andy, what is it I've run the Formula student team. I've worked on Formula Ford for the college. Well, that's fantastic, Andy. But sadly, and this is what I sort of experienced in the industry, was, but Andy, what experience have you got? What real experience have you got? And that was a real kick in the teeth for not only the student who's you're accessing what's available to you, and it's a kick in the teeth, if you would. Not the best way to describe it, but for the educators, they're doing everything that they can within the power, within how much money they've got and time they've got to give students experience in motorsport. Now, flip that to someone else that goes into that same interview and says, well, actually, I actually participated in a real-to-life project such as the Challenge. There are other things out there, but where we actually, had to formulate a racing team, deal with public, deal with the industry, deal with money, drivers, and so forth, the highs and lows of motorsport. Now that they're going into a job interview with themselves, the CV, and what I would like to describe as a portfolio of real experience then, and that's the difference. They're employable then, they're work ready, and it reminds me of what, this project really came from an idea. When I used to teach at the College of West Anglia, we ran a mini challenge team, and we did nothing different to what we're doing now. We'd get a donor vehicle, we convert that donor vehicle, and the students were responsible for formulating the team and processing with support from the tutors, of course. There are decisions they can't make. But I used to be able to sit down in the paddock, Andy, and Leicester, I used to be able to sit down in that paddock at the back of the awning, and there were 2 or 3 different racing cars, mini challenge cars being run by students. And of course, they oversee things, but I was almost made redundant. And it was at that point that I realised what a fantastic idea that was, and that the students were ready.
Yeah.
Full stop. And that's it.
Yeah.
That's what I've recreated and embedded into an existing racing series.
But it sounds like, as the name of the series suggests, it's a fascinating challenge, I think, for everybody involved to make it work. So I know we've seen on social media some announcements of teams and entries. What teams can we look forward to seeing this year in the series?
So if you check out the website, and I'll tell you when that's going live, it's supposed to be live now. We have some road bumps, as you can imagine. We're moving a site, migrating it over to a new system with, up of 1,000 users. So we've had our problems with that, but this is what it's about. We're all learning. So the teams that you're going to see this year, and you may have seen dotting about from the delivery days that we've done, from donor cars being bought to cages being installed, for parts being delivered, and so forth and so forth. In no particular order are Chichester College. So Dan at Chichester College and his students are really getting cracking now on that car. They've stripped an engine. So wow. The first team to strip an engine, so that's fantastic. So you're going to see all that on our social media and on the website. You've got George at East Surrey College heading up that team. So a really vibrant Kawasaki green cage gone in their car. You've got the guys, Emma and Joe at Metropolitan College at Brighton Metropolitan on an airfield. Fantastic visit to them last week. I was so distracted by all the planes. The students kept having to bring me back into the room. Fantastic. We've got Dan at College Gwent. You'll see they've just actually launched a video today of myself and the other tutors at their parts delivery and pit stop challenge day. We did them in South Wales. You've got North Warwickshire, South Leicestershire College. Quite a mouthful, that one. You won't have seen a lot on those guys yet because they're only just getting the donor car, but they are starting their build now and will be ready probably for the second race of this season. But what an achievement to start so late in the season, start so late in this project, given that people are starting in September. So the guys that Ben and Steve, I'm remembering the names, can't believe it, at North Warwickshire, you're going to see some fantastic things from them. Finally, the first to join to put their trust in was West Suffolk College. Leon at West Suffolk College and Alan and the guys there are doing a fantastic job. They were the first to sign up. I mean, what a show of trust to join something that's never existed before. So thank you to those guys. Bright yellow cage for them. So we're going to see some bright colours and some fantastic things going on. And we are announcing the seventh college, the seventh education team this week. Now,
wow.
Now, don't I tell you now?
Fantastic. When can we start to expect to hear about drivers?
Yeah, it is something that's on the radar. There's about 30 different things on my radar at the moment about which drivers are going to be signing with these. For most teams, they'll all stick with one driver for the season. With the way that Motorsport UK has helped us, and BRSCC have let us do the rules, is that these teams will be running drivers for a drivers' championship for the CityCar Cup, as you know. Mm-hmm. But they'll also be able to, no matter who drives for that team, there'll be sort of a constructors' championship, if you would, what's been termed as an award. So 1 or 2 drivers that might run for one particular team will all earn points for that team. So that's where the challenge comes in, and those points have been really chopped down. It's not 10, 25, 35 points. They're much closer for a closer series. Drivers' announcements, you'll hear it first from us. We haven't had any commitments yet, other than College Grant's going to run with one of the tutors, which we want to avoid, really, because it's about pulling in paid drivers. But I don't have any announcements as yet, sorry.
Okay. So when can we, because this is going to be run as an inter-series within, as you've already mentioned, the CityCar Cup, which is itself a very popular and very competitive championship.
It is.
So they're going to be racing with some people, well, everybody takes motorsport seriously, but some people who are, taking their first step on the motorsport rung and are really looking to make an impact. So this is not some kind of junior series. This is proper motorsport, isn't it?
Yeah, you call it grassroots, which it is, but it's, whether it's £10,000 vehicle build or £250,000 vehicle build, that people take it seriously.
Yes.
People make mistakes, as bad driving and so forth, but there are things in place, especially with the BRSCC, where they have a driver, an understanding agreement that they all have to fill out or adhere to. The driving standards are looked at, but no matter how much you're spending on a racing car, it's taken seriously, and that's what I wanted to get with the challenge. We didn't want a separate grid. We didn't want to be running at 7 colleges on their own against each other. We want to be putting them up against not just themselves, to benchmark themselves and challenge other colleges and create that camaraderie and teamwork. But we want to put them up against the public as well. It will be tough. Well, that's what we're there for, and we will help them. We'll help them get through, yeah.
Sure. And this is the first year of the challenge. As we look forward, how do you see this developing?
Well, I have lots of ideas, and the guys at Student Motorsport say no most of the time. Well, this is one idea they let me run with, and we just going back to that. Actually, this was the sensible time to do this. Would have been when we're much further developed as a company and an organisation. But with the onset of COVID, it was the time to do it, really, to spend that year, if you would, planning and writing what the challenge is. The future, obviously, we want to build the grid for the second year, which will start in September this year. So September 23 is really when the teams get started with the challenge. They build the teams, they acquire a donor vehicle, they get the parts, and they start building the vehicles and so forth. So not only do we want to expand the grid and cause more problems for the BRSCC and ourselves, but we'd like to electrify this series. So it's the first time I've talked about it on air, but it's something that I need to learn more about and want to get involved in. And us as a company, we want to solve, electric motorsport for education or introduce it. So what was quickly apparent with the challenge is that it's complex enough for colleges, and it's a fantastic thing to get involved in, even perhaps early years and foundation years for universities. But what we're rapidly aware of is that electric is coming. We can't ignore it, and we don't want to ignore it. We want to embrace it. It's quite interesting when you look into it, particularly powertrains and control systems. We want to introduce an electric series for universities. Or colleges that deliver degree courses. For example, Brighton, a Greater Brighton College deliver degree courses and places like Bridgewater and so forth. So we want to electrify it in the way it exists at the moment. So it's a vehicle conversion. It continues to teach them about everything about motorsport and the different things that we've talked about. But what we need to do is narrow the focus a little bit. You know, we're well aware of some of the other competitions that exist out there, such as Formula Student. You know, that was something I participated in, the fantastic engineering projects get involved in. But the electrification of this it'll be a conversion probably. And narrowing of the focus so that cars are on grid and competing in an educational electric series. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, I can only wish you all the very best of this year. It's going to be fascinating to see how the Student Motorsport Challenge develops over the course of 2022 and beyond. Final question: when can we expect to see the cars out on track for the first round?
The first rounds, I'm just gazing at my calendar just because I knew you'd ask me that. Elton Park International Circuit is the first round, where you'll see one qualification, 2 races, and that is on a Saturday, the 9th of April this year.
Fantastic.
We're hoping most colleges hit that. 1 or 2 might struggle, and we can understand that because of the, some are late to the party, so to speak. There's only 8 weeks to go. We don't want them to rush builds, so that's when you're surprised, yeah.
It sounds like Formula One back in the 1970s. It sounds absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, but we've got to be safe. Yeah.
Brilliant, JP. Well, thank you very much for your time this evening. It's been great talking to you, and we look forward to seeing the Student Motorsport Challenge out on grid later this year.
Thank you very much. Can I just quickly say a thank you to people?
Of course, go ahead.
So don't want to take too much time, but it is really, really important to remember just how people have supported us to make this happen, including yourself, Andy. You have an involvement in what we do. Thank you to you guys for hosting what we do. But the big thank yous to Student Motorsport, the team, Patrick and James at Student Motorsport, who make things look pretty, and a lot more. The BRSCC and obviously Motorsport UK for allowing us to embed this into their championship and obviously support with rules. A massive, massive thank you to Simon at Essential Racing, who provides the parts and allowed us to build cars at their place and write build guides and deliver parts all over the country. And finally, Nankang for their involvement in our Pit Stop Challenge. So thank you very much.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, JP. We shall speak to you again very soon and look forward to witnessing the developments of the Student Motorsport Challenge in 2022. Back to you, Lester.
Motorsport Radio.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Ray from the Kawasaki Racing Team.
Hi, this is Nick Hamilton.
Hi, I'm Jamie Chadwick.
Hey everyone, I'm Bradley Smith.
Hi, I'm Joan Zarco.
Hi, I'm Bradley Wright.
Hi, I'm Seb Morris.
Hi, I'm Dan Linfoot from Honda Racing British Superbike Team, and this is Motorsport Radio.